One of the most important decisions you need to make before starting your own business is deciding on the legal structure of your company. The form of your business organization affects everything, from the amount of taxes that you have to pay, to the kinds of paperwork you need to do, to the level of personal responsibility each owner has to take. Today, there are 4 general forms in which a business can be set up: sole proprietorships, partnerships, corporations, and limited liability companies. A sole proprietorship is the most common form of business organization, as well as the easiest to form. It is a business owned and run by one person. Sole proprietorships offer complete control to the owner, but the owner is also personally responsible for the debts and losses of the business, as there is no distinction between personal and business income. For example, if your business goes through financial problems, your personal assets might be at stake. This type of business is best suited for small businesses. A partnership is when 2 or more persons form a business together. Each partner contributes to the business by offering resources such as capital, property, or labor. This sharing of responsibilities makes it easier to start a business. Similar to a sole proprietorship, the members of a partnership take on the whole personal responsibility of the organization's debts and losses. This type of business is best for a small number of people who want to contribute capital or services to a business. There are 2 ways a partnership can be formed. A general partnership can be made verbally or even implied, while a limited partnership requires a formal agreement and allows partners to limit their liability for business debts. A corporation differs from the first 2 forms, in that the corporation itself is considered to be a legal person for tax purposes. This also means that the owners are protected from personal legal action if the business is ever sued. Incorporation makes your business more flexible, but it also means that your corporation is held accountable for its actions at a higher level of scrutiny. Another difference between corporations and sole proprietorships or partnerships is that your business is taxed twice, once for the company's revenue and another for your personal revenue. A limited liability company, or LLC, has the combined advantages of a corporation and a partnership. LLCs can be owned by a variety of entities such as individuals, corporations, trusts, and even other LLCs. A limited liability company can be taxed like a partnership, avoiding double taxation, but it takes a lot more paperwork. But what about the Philippines? There are actually some differences in how we structure our business organizations locally. In the Philippines, there are 4 forms of business organization: sole proprietorships, partnerships, corporations, and cooperatives. Sole proprietorships are essentially the same as earlier. A single person provides the capital and enjoys 100% of both profits and losses. A good example of this is a sari-sari store owned and run by your hardworking neighbor. The business is easy to set up, but its profitability and capacity for growth are very limited. The sole proprietor must also know all aspects of the business in order to succeed. For sole proprietorships, there's less government regulation and it's easier to make decisions, but it's difficult to manage if the owner doesn't know how to lead the company. A sole proprietorship must apply for a business name and should be registered in the Department of Trade and Industry. Partnerships are also similar to earlier. Partners must agree on their roles and how their profits are shared among themselves. Local law and accounting practitioners are a common example of partnerships, as this is the legally prescribed form of organization for these professional services. Partnerships can be exceptional if there's good working relationships between the partners. Partnerships are also not strictly regulated by the SEC. The downside to partnerships? An exit of a partner immediately dissolves the partnership. Business affairs become very complex when there are too many partners involved, and general partners are also wholly responsible for debts, obligations, and wrongful acts of another business partner. A partnership with more than 3,000 pesos in capital must register with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Corporations are composed of 5 to 15 incorporators, who each hold at least 1 share of the company and are registered with the SEC. Corporations are also regulated by the SEC as a separate identity from its stockholders. The tax rate of corporations is at 30%. Compared to partnerships, corporations are much easier and stable in terms of transferring ownership. There's a greater formality in the conduct of business in a corporation, with separation of ownership from management, providing a sense of professionalism. Some disadvantages, however, are increased paperwork, less tax flexibility, the expenses incurred from registering the corporation, and greater regulation from the SEC. Corporations are also divided into two types: stock and non-stock corporations. Stock corporations have capital stock divided into shares, which are distributed to shareholders as dividends. In other words, the surplus profits from the business become the profits of the shareholders. Meanwhile, non-stock corporations are organized for public purposes, be they charitable, religious, educational, cultural, literary, scientific, or other. These corporations do not issue shares of stock to its members, and any profits made are used to further the purposes of the corporation. Cooperatives are different from corporations and partnerships, in that the system has collective and democratic ownership run by an electoral system. This means that each member has one vote. Membership is open and voluntary. Cooperatives can be of many types. Some examples are credit, consumer, service, producer, and multi-purpose cooperatives. Cooperatives have a ready captive market, have tax advantages, and have preferential treatment from the government. However, there is limited interest in capital for its cooperatives, and the profit objective might be subrogated to maximizing the welfare of members. Cooperatives must be registered with the Cooperative Development Authority. Each of these choices prevents advantages and disadvantages of their own. When you decide to start a business, make sure you pick out the form of business organization that is the best for your needs and capabilities.